See.
That's right.
Hey, folks, good morning. It's the Power Hour coming to you live. Thank God with power. When you look at what's going on around the country, we don't take that for
Texas.
granted on today, right? Power and water. Don't know how much you need it till it's gone. Praying for folk in Texas. But we're here broadcasting to you live out of the tri-state area, Philadelphia, South Jersey, Delaware, but coming to you from, well, I said Philadelphia like it's a state. It is.
It is. Yeah, sure, for sure.
I mean, I'm going to file a petition. We're going to secede from Pennsylvania since they don't show us any love.
I've been trying to get them to do that for years, but nobody seems to want to move in that direction.
So coming to you from the state of Philadelphia, Jersey, and Delaware, it's the Power Hour. Sitting across from me is Bishop Dwayne David Reister.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
And holding it down is Kawesa. What's up, Kawesa?
Good morning. Hi.
We didn't get a chance to hear your voice yesterday. It's good to hear your voice today.
I'm here. Yay.
How was your ride in? That's our daily check-in. How was your ride in?
Yeah, today was not super fun. I'm going to admit that. But it's a lot of black ice out there, honestly. So people really need to be safe when they're driving. The biggest thing, though, for me was not necessarily the driving piece as much as it was like me walking to and from my car. Like my life flashed before my eyes several times this morning.
Oh, wow.
So,
I'm glad you got it safely.
yeah, but yeah, just everybody be safe and, salt if you can before you start walking around, and make sure you wear some shoes with some grip because you're going to need it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Kawesa, you need some cleats.
I have my Timbs on, but I'm like, shoot, I should have worn.
I'm telling you, you need some cleats.
You're right.
Get some real cleats with little spikes in them. I mean, can we just get that? Can we just, let's put a request in.
Okay.
Is there a check request form? If so, just put it in my box. I'll fill it out. I'll fill it out for you. And yes, it's Friday and I'm here.
Then Robert Garland was asking the question.
Yeah, the snow has me bound. I was about to do my Ted Cruz, but I'm stuck here.
Dude, that is not even funny. The Ted Cruz situation is just sad. And then he threw his daughters under the bus on it. And it was like, oh, my daughters were off for the week and wanted to know if they could go away with friends. But I'm coming back. I flew down here with them, but I'm coming back.
Right. He threw Heidi under the bus, too, his wife.
Yes. I'm like, wow, that's deep, man. That is deep.
Well, Ted Cruz is, Ted Cruz is being Ted Cruz. Anybody who's followed Ted Cruz knows that this is kind of how this guy rocks. And
Canadians not making you look good. For those of you that know that he was actually born in Canada.
Or Cubans.
Yes, absolutely.
He's got 3 countries denying him. America, the Canucks, and the Cubans. Nobody really wants to own him.
But Texas thinks that they're a country unto themselves, which is why they're not a part of the national grid in the first place. If they were a part of the national grid, they'd have electricity flowing right now. But they're not a part of the national grid. And because they're climate deniers and think that climate change isn't real, they're now getting hit with ice and snowstorms that they never thought was possible to go as far south as it did in Texas.
Yeehaw.
But anyway.
Yeehaw.
That's pitiful, man. It's just really pitiful. Ted Cruz is a piece of, So anyway.
Well, like I said, I think so. Sarah's take.
I'm gonna pray for him.
Sarah's take on him on social media. By the way, you can follow us on Facebook Live, among other places. But Sarah said he's a snake, and hypothetically, or symbolically, that he's a lot of people have that same feeling about him. I mean, this is a guy who many people still can't get over the fact that he has been Donald Trump's biggest supporter. I mean, he's gone out on a limb for Donald Trump farther than Lindsey Graham in many occasions. And let's not forget that his wife Heidi, who he threw under the bus yesterday, along with his daughters, Donald Trump said she was ugly. during the presidential primary 4 or 5 years ago, and Ted Cruz, seemed to be so hurt and all in his feelings. I mean, honestly, bro, look, if a dude called your wife ugly and he ended up becoming president and he's in your party, of course you're going to work with him, but that's kind of the end of it. It's like, yeah, but I'm definitely not going to be your cheerleader. But Ted Cruz is always about Ted Cruz. And so it was never, his love and support of Donald Trump was never about him, about Trump. It's always about him thinking this is going to advance his career because his ultimate goal is he wants to be president one day. And leaving your constituents while they're freezing to death, literally, and without water, and without hope because their own local state government is awful, and their local governments tell them that they're basically whining because they can't remember that guy, the former mayor of Colorado City, Texas.
Resigned.
Yeah, telling you that, only the strong survive, Texas. Only the strong. When you leave in the middle of that to go to Cancun because you can, like I've always said, Donald Trump can do that. He can do that and survive it because it's Donald Trump. You're Ted Cruz. When you do it, you look like pretty much what you should look like when you do something like that, a creep.
So here's the thing for me. Ted Cruz, Texas is a mess. He escapes to Mexico. If I was Mexico, I'd block him at the border and send him right back. Right? How can you, who have, disparaged Mexicans, let Donald Trump disparage Mexicans, come along, escape to a place whose people you do not want transversing the border in Texas and coming into the country? I'd have been like, when they saw that it was Ted Cruz, well, I guess because he was using Raphael, which is his real name, instead of using Ted, they probably didn't recognize who he was. But, and he get that beard growing out now. But they did not send him. I would have blocked him at the border. I would have been like, no, you're blocked. You can't come here. You're not welcome. Send him back. Send him back to freezing cold, no water, in his palatial estate that is now worth nothing at the moment because he has no resources to be able to draw from. So, it's absolutely pitiful to me that, it's him, it's Rubio as well, it's Lindsey Graham as well, all these guys who were attacking Trump, vociferously, and now all of a sudden they're like, oh, Trump's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, but there's still something I agree with that, but I mean, Cruz is in a class by himself. You got to admit. I mean, he is just in a place all by himself. I mean, in the sense of just being like just low life behavior. I won't call you a low life, but I'll say you are engaging in low life behavior. And I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, he is a different kind of cat, man. I mean, and it always looks so much worse when it's Ted Cruz, doesn't it? I mean,
it does. It just really does.
I mean, look at this.
He's a jerk as it is, but it's just made worse.
Yeah, I mean, right. And so, in addition to the fact that, right, your whole thing is about like keeping Mexicans out, but where do you run when you're in trouble? Another one who wants to go to Mexico, but here's the cold part. When he leaves, he has like a black mask on at the airport. When he comes back, he's rocking a Texas state flag mask.
Pitiful.
I'm like, dude, this is what I'm saying. This is what I mean, is that this is why people like hate his behavior so much. Mm-hmm. Because again, it is so overtly, everything is so overtly political that every decision is some political calculation, even when it backfires, as opposed to it's just Ted being Ted. I mean, see, give Trump credit for that. I mean, Trump is just being Trump. He don't even care. You know what I mean? I think maybe that's the difference. But with Cruz, it's like, I can't with him, man. I can't. Texas, he is your problem. Thank God he will never be our problem. Keep him down in the Lone Star State. Again, I say, yeehaw. Yeehaw, Texas.
Wow. So speaking of senatorial politics, I don't know if you heard on Joy Reid last night that State Rep Malcolm Kenyatta announced that he's going to run for the U.S. Senate seat here in 2022.
Saw it in the paper this morning, and I had it on the rundown. Did not know he got that shout out on Joy Reid. That's major.
He announced it on Joy Reid's show. So it's actually very interesting. So Representative Malcolm Kenyatta, State Rep Malcolm Kenyatta, who represents a large swath of North Philadelphia, who became a real political darling in the state of Pennsylvania during the run for Joe Biden. He was one of the first African-American politicians in the city and one of the first Pennsylvania politicians to get behind Joe Biden's campaign. He was a surrogate for Joe Biden, often spoke on national news media outlets as a surrogate for the Biden campaign, has often been seen with President Biden prior to the election. And he is now going to make that run for U.S. Senate. So the other declared candidate at this point is Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, who is looking to make the run for the Senate seat as well. So Fetterman is the far left progressive. Representative Malcolm Kenyatta is a little bit more moderate than Lieutenant Governor Fetterman is. And so it remains to be an interesting race, but we all don't know who else is getting in the race yet. I'm sure that there are more folk that are considering. I'm waiting for Bruce Castor to announce that he's running in the Republican seat. Now, he has not intimated this publicly. This is just my guess, so don't anybody hold me down. You said Bruce Castor. I'm just making a guess that he's going to try to take his pitiful performance as the Trump lead defense counsel, although they won, to make a ploy and a run for the Senate seat or the governor's seat here in Pennsylvania. As many of you remember, Bruce Castor used to be a Montgomery County commissioner and was previous to that the Montgomery County district attorney. So Montgomery County is the third largest county in the state of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia being the largest, Allegheny being second, Montgomery County being third. They have over 800,000 residents, and actually a lot of Montgomery County legislators and politicians eventually go into statewide office. Josh Shapiro is currently serving as the Attorney General for the state of Pennsylvania. There were others that have been state treasurers and state auditor generals and so forth. So it's kind of a stepping stone because of its position in the state, especially in the Democratic Party. So this is going to be a very interesting Senate race because the seat's being vacated by Senator Pat Toomey, who has agreed that he's not going to run again. He doesn't want to run again. He's probably sick of all this stuff. Tuesdays with Toomeys, I guess, really had some impact. He's like, I'm done.
I think it's more like being a Republican who's in your right mind,
right?
Being surrounded by the current Republican Party. I think it's those other, let's say, about 7 or 8 of them voted to impeach. So
yeah,
you got like 42 kooks that you got to like deal with every day.
Yeah,
and I think it's more that than anything else. He probably thought, okay, when Trump is gone, things will settle down. And he's looking now like, man, you all are just crazy. Like,
yeah.
Really, you're crazy. And I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
I don't care about this seat.
There are actually a bunch of politicians that have announced their retirements already ahead of the 2022 election. I think folk are just tired. Politics has not been normal in this country for the last 4 years. So I think they're looking for better days. And they're also seeing what's coming down the pike. If you're not willing to be a rabid white supremacist, you really have no place in the Republican Party right now. And so
Right.
that's part of the problem.
Well, listen, so I want to talk about this Malcolm Kenyatta run because I think this is exciting. And by the way, Shannon says it's weird how y'all keep disappearing into the background. I don't know what it is. The virtual background typically works. But today, you're right, Shannon, it is weird. She says, we keep losing arms and headphones. So just to see teeth talking. But it is what it is. Listen, I have been wondering. So Malcolm Kenyatta, this caught me completely off guard this morning.
Yeah.
But I was really happy to see it because, look, I like John Fetterman. I think Fetterman is, obviously I think he would do a good job in the U.S. Senate. Anybody that runs from the Democratic side would probably do a better job than Toomey did. I mean, Toomey only found his, political courage toward the end. But let's not forget all the votes he cast. right alongside the Republicans for almost everything else, the tax cuts and everything else. So, I mean, we can't forget that. But Malcolm Kenyatta, bruh, look, Raphael says on social, Mr. Kenyatta needs to build his political resume before he would get my vote. When he ran for state rep, his opponent was Milton Street, and we know what type of politician he is. Well, I don't know about all that, but let me just say to Raphael and to all of you who may say the same thing, yeah, he just got into the state house. He is very young, 30 years old, doesn't have much of a resume, but I will remind you that politics is also about time and opportunity.
That's right.
Sometimes when the window opens, you jump in. People said the exact same thing, Raphael, about one U.S. Senator Barack Obama. The exact same thing. His resume is thin. He's going up against, Hillary Clinton, hers. Look, people don't care about that stuff. I mean, honestly, can you excite the people? And I've heard Malcolm speak, love Malcolm Kenyatta, and believe in him. I think that he is going to give Fetterman a run for his money. And if no other credible, black Democratic candidate gets in the race, because it's going to become a crowded field before it's over.
Yeah.
And so if people keep that lane open for him, I'm just telling you, look out for Malcolm Kenyatta. He can win statewide, because that's what you're going to have somebody who can excite Democrats across the state. And that's what you need. He's got that in spades. And so, he's 30 years old, man. He could ride the same thing with John. John Ossoff is what, 32?
Yeah, John Ossoff's he's 34, I think.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, it's, the country is feeling that wave right now. Pennsylvania could use a shot in the arm of that. And again, I just think it completely caught me off guard, but I like it. We got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation, read some of your comments on social media. And hey, now even the Catholic Church is a little bit upset and miffed by the documentary about the Black church.
Uh-oh.
They got completely snubbed. I keep saying, look, I love the documentary, love Skip, but the omissions, here it is in a nutshell. At the end, you want to talk about the Black church? What do they tell you in the Black church when you get to the end of a church program and you're about to start recognizing people? What's the first thing they tell you in the Black church not to do?
Don't do it.
They say don't call names. Yeah, don't call names, because if you start calling names and you don't get them all, then Mrs. So-and-so who baked that cake, he's going to give you the business when you walk. I can't believe you won't call her name, but you didn't call my name.
Oh,
and
yeah.
right now, that's a lot of what's happening.
Yep.
Is the omissions. For people who are in the Black church deeply, the omissions are really hurtful. And it's not that people don't appreciate what he did, but it's like when you forget the entire CME and AME Zion Church, for example.
Yep.
They say, well, you talked about the AME, yeah, but they're not us. And I understand why they're hurt, and why the Black Catholics would be hurt, and why all these other folk would be hurt. And all I'm saying is that when you rush and do something, sometimes the omissions can add a taint to it and take away from an otherwise beautiful project. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about that and other things. It is the Power Hour. We'll be right back.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet, hold on. Whew, but it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew, taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Her's.
Pennsylvanians are creating their own soundtrack. Thanks to PA Lottery Scratch-Offs, excitement's back. Pennies, nickels, dimes, or quarters, no matter your choice, scratching's always in order. With big top prizes and second chance drawings, thrills await. They're out there calling if it's excitement you seek and you're looking for action, play the PA Lottery. And keep on scratching. Must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day.
America's kids are returning to class, in school and at home. And this year, learning is especially tough on students who already struggle with poverty, emotional trauma, and other barriers.
That's where our organization, Communities in Schools, can help. For years, we've had caring adults inside schools, helping these students stay in school.
And now, we are taking our work beyond the school walls, tutoring, mentoring, and counseling students, providing resources for at-home learning,
Delivering meals, providing household supplies, connecting kids with online classrooms, and using technology to maintain the one-on-one relationships we know can transform the lives of students and their families.
We are doing whatever it takes to make sure all kids have the opportunity to learn and succeed.
Communities in Schools, going wherever we are needed to help those students who are most in need thrive.
To see how you can help kids succeed, visit communitiesinschools.org. That's communitiesinschools.org.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinions. And we now have to change the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler's name from no longer, Fridays are my day off to actually I'm working on Fridays. So here we go.
I'm an unpaid intern, for the record. So when you're an unpaid intern, when you take off, it ain't really taking off. It's just like, I ain't gonna be there today. Like, that's what unpaid interns do. And they tell you 5 minutes before you're supposed to be there, like, oh, by the way, I ain't gonna be there today.
Yeah, I just want to correct something real quick. So there's a conversation happening on Facebook. I want to State Rep Malcolm Kenyatta does not have to resign his state rep seat to run for Senate. So let me just clear that up. If you are a Philadelphia elected official and you choose to run for a statewide office, so a municipal elected official that chooses to run for another office has to resign the office they're currently residing in. However, if you are elected to a statewide office in the state of Pennsylvania, you do not have to resign your seat to run for another office. So State Rep Malcolm Kenyatta can continue to serve as state rep for his North Philadelphia district and run for U.S. Senate at the same time. So I just wanted to clarify that and clear that up for folks, because I saw that there was a lot of conversation happening about that, and we just wanted to make sure that folk understood that.
Yeah, appreciate that. And Asa Khalif, actually, I looked in there. He actually put that in the chat as well, so appreciate that, Asa. To Skip Gates' piece. Now, again, I went back and I looked at part 2 yesterday, and because I was actually on Nick's show. And, it's a great piece, but like I said on Nick's show, it's like a really well put together Wikipedia page where it's kind of thin.
Wow.
I'm not knocking it down, I'm just being honest, right? So Wikipedia pages typically are pretty thin, large, by and large accurate, a few pictures with the wrong names on them, that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Where it's enough there that, that kind of like gets you interested in the subject, and it's like, oh, I didn't really know all this stuff about the black church. I want to go learn more. So I think it's wonderful in that way. There's certainly going to be renewed interest. I mean, look, I'm working on some documentary projects that certainly can use a boost from the attention that he has now on the black church. People want to know more. And so I think that's absolutely great. But again, if you know anything about the black church, it is the fact that when you omit people, it's worse than the fact that you recognized others. I mean, you ought to see me. So we used to have in-person worship. Man, if I'm at the end of the program, bro, I got like this long handwritten list. Like, thank this person, thank that person. Or if you're talking about the protocol, the AME church,
Right.
people talk about us all the time. When we have an event and we establish the protocol, that's, you know, who you need to recognize. The protocol, I see Roberta on here. She can attest, one of our members. She's listening this morning. It can take 5 minutes or more. When I recognize Bishop Ingram and Reverend Dr. Jessica Ingram and the presiding elders and the pastors and the president of the lay and the president of the missionaries and president of the YPD and the director of the YPD and the sons of Allen. And I mean, it's on and on and on. And people sit there like, oh my God, why do you have to call all those names? You know why? Ask Skip Gates this morning why you need to call all those names.
That's right.
Because trust me, while he's being celebrated abroad and by the majority of Americans who watched it, he is taking incoming from folk who are right now calling him like, Skip, I literally can't believe you did that. Like, I mean, I was complaining the other night about Eddie Glaude, you know, talking about the walkout of Richard Allen when he has no connection to the story. And there are plenty of AMEs who could have done it, but hell, at least they talked about it. I mean, given the fact that you left out whole denominations, I shouldn't complain anymore.
Yeah. So I can't find the article. Could you tell us about this AME Catholic thing going on?
No, it's just that the Catholics, and the Catholics are right. Their whole point is that there is a very long legacy of Black Catholics. I mean, going back to the 1800s, in this country, deep Catholic roots within the Black community. It is not as large by any comparison to Black Protestants, you know, Baptists, Methodists, Pentecostals, you know, these WURD churches now. But you look at the history, I mean, you know, Xavier University in New Orleans.
That's right.
That's a Black Catholic institution. They got a Black Catholic HBCU. And so, yeah, so they kind of felt some kind of way about being overlooked. And it is strange given the fact that we now have the first African-American cardinal, who's, you know, Wilton Blake. Is not Blake, I'm sorry. That's an AME preacher. Is it Wilton Gregg, Cardinal Gregg?
Yeah, Gregory, yes. Wilton Gregory in D.C., yes.
There you go, thank you.
African-American cardinal, yes.
Yeah, so anyway, it's, you know, I know, like I said again, Skip, again, in the spirit of the Black church, I know how you're feeling right now, because I've done that before. I got the lumps to prove it. And so right now, you're just thinking to yourself, like, I shouldn't have done anything.
Well, I mean, I think you're right, though. I mean, you know, it's like, this is the thing. I mean, it's about scholarship, too, right? Good scholarship should provoke more scholarship. And in some ways, his conversation about the Black church should be provoking more people to research and understand the Black church. And hopefully people will actually dive in and learn more about the various denominations. I mean, you know, I was thinking about this, you know, part of it is I was getting ready to say, oh, he's probably going through, was it C. Eric Lincoln and Mamia that put out the book around the Black church? Yeah. And I was thinking, oh, but then he left out the CME and the AME Zion. So I'm like, well, maybe he's not following that because there are 9 traditional Black denominations in the United States, the major ones. And there are a lot of minor, and I shouldn't say minor, but there are a lot of smaller Black denominations that exist as well. I was talking yesterday about the UAME Church, the Union African Methodist Episcopal Church, which started down on the eastern shore of Delaware. So there's smaller groups that are out there as well. What are you going to say about that?
Well, no, it's not that. So I just want to respond to this comment. So this is a comment from Facebook, and I think that this is where people don't understand my criticism. But I appreciate the comment, and I want to break this down and explain this to you. So Raphael says, Skip Gates did a great job on the Black church. Dr. Glaude is a Princeton University historian, Rev. Give him a break. Every Black person in the church is not a member of the AME congregation. Come on. So here is my point. When you are telling someone's story, it has to be authentic. So let's say we're going to make the story of WURD. It's a documentary of the rise of WURD radio. And the story is going to be told, we're going to do a real documentary on WURD radio. But the people who are going to tell the story, the people we interview, don't even listen to WURD radio. So we're going to get people from CBS radio and, I don't know, like other competitors or whatever. And then we're going to leave out big chunks. Like we never talk about Walter Lomax. He just happens to be the guy who founded it, right? Or you get a person to talk about Walter Lomax who didn't know Walter Lomax, and you bypass somebody who literally knew him and was available. That's what I'm saying, is that it is not a lack of appreciation, but it is when you are telling someone's story that you have to tell their story, A, the right way, and B, with authentic, credible voices. All of us, each of us has our own story. And if they're telling the Dwayne Royster story, there are certain voices and certain episodes in your life that people expect to hear. And when they're watching it, they're like, well, wait a minute. They didn't talk about Boston. And he got Duncan.
Jeez,
they didn't mention the fact that he pledged iota. It's like, wait a minute, how you gonna do a story about Dwayne, don't talk about he pledged iota by himself, right? You understand? I mean, it's like certain key moments that have to be talked about. And when you miss it, then it's kind of like, yeah, it was great. They talked about his stuff with power, but they missed like other parts that just seemed odd. It seemed odd to miss it. That's all I'm saying. And so it is, as I've said repeatedly, it is not a knock about Eddie Glaude. Of course, Eddie Glaude went to more. I know Eddie. Eddie has spoken at my church. Eddie is, I consider him a friend. It is not a knock about Eddie, but there's a guy named Dennis Dickerson who actually literally just wrote the book called The History of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, who is like our go-to historian that Skip knows very well. And so that's the point. That's all I'm saying. And the heat that he is getting is heat because of omissions like that to very important constituencies. And that literally is all it is. All I'm saying is, if you're going to call names, get the list right, bro.
Well, but I think the other issue at this, too, if we're really going to have a serious conversation about this, is the way that the Black church has been so overlooked for so long. And that there's like really the first time that we're having this conversation. So everybody wants to be in, right? Because it's the first time we're having a serious, like deep conversation about the Black church, at least in a very long time. And everybody wants to see themselves in it because they feel like they're a part of it. If we had more folk and more people, more stations, more communities, more funders, more philanthropists that would put money behind these things and not just leave them on a shelf somewhere, but actually put them up on big media, we probably wouldn't have this problem. People wouldn't be upset because they're like, oh, the one about the Kojik's coming out next week, or the one about the UAMEs is coming out next week, or the one about, Fred Price is coming out next week, right? It's there will be a lot of other stories out there, but we are not covering those stories. We're not doing that work.
Yeah, so I mean, yes, Tawanda, he is claiming to not know what I meant. She's asking about Raphael because he keeps going on. Raphael, he does this at times, where it's just you're being willfully, wrong in this moment. If you don't understand what I just said, then I can't help you today, bro. I don't know what it is today, but I can't help you. It can't get plainer than that. It'd be like talking about the Tawanda story without talking about Lancaster, not Lancaster, but Lancaster. It'd be like talking about Sheila Booker without talking about her love of music and her directing abilities. Be like having a non-musician talking about the way Sheila directs. She's like, yeah, I mean, I appreciate it, but they're actually like musicians you can talk to. Hey, so, I mean, but anyway, I still say watch it. Check it out. I thought the second part was actually better than the first part. It's sweeping, it's beautiful, it does inspire, but just understand that there are very important gaps there. But I don't think that the gaps totally negate the project. And I would never tell somebody, don't watch it. I had problems watching it the first night because I just know a whole lot. I mean, I pastor a church with a friggin' museum in it. There's like literally a museum and an archive in my church. So I'm the wrong one. It's like never watch preaching next to a preacher.
Yes, because we're not watching it the same way that other people are watching it, right?
Right.
It's actually kind of funny. You were talking earlier about the protocol. I've actually been watching a bunch of Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright sermons recently, and I'm listening to him establish protocol. And one time, it took literally 10 minutes, and I was like, wow, that was long. I don't go that long. I'm like, I just acknowledge folk and I keep on rolling. Sound like we got things to do. But he had something to say about everybody, and I was like, oh Lord, this is taking a while.
Yeah, man. But you know, hey, it is what it is. But that's why Jeremiah Wright always gets invited back.
Yeah.
Because if you want to come back, don't mess that up, because you never know who you're missing out, right? Hey, we didn't even mention this. We'll just give it a quick passing mention, but you got to say it today. Like I said again, it's kind of like things you got to at least mention. Mm-hmm. Can't be a Philly-based radio show without at least mentioning on the day after it happened that the franchise quarterback got traded yesterday to the Indianapolis Colts.
Woo! He should have never been here in the first place. Okay, thank you. That's statement about football. Okay.
So Carson Wentz is going to Indianapolis, which is great for him, because Indianapolis is, they went to the playoffs this year, but they did it with an aging Phillip Rivers, who had got traded from San Diego. Well, the Chargers. They moved to L.A. But so it's good for Carson. He's going into a great program. And, he's kind of quarterback.
Playoffs next year with Carson Wentz as their lead quarterback. I'm just saying. Just letting him know now. He's going to get injured about 5-6 games in. Your backup will come in and have to take you all the way to the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what happened to Philly. That's what happened to Philly. Every time we went to the playoffs, Carson got hurt about 5-6 games in. Nick Foles had to come in and take him the rest of the way. Come on now. That's exactly what happened.
So, so Carson is gone. Just had to acknowledge that. Before we go to break, Will Mega's trying to have fun at our expense. First, he talked about, I guess, being happy I'm not wearing my Alpha jacket today. And he asked about IOTAs. Don't you all pledge by yourselves?
No, Will. No.
I could say a lot of, out of respect for my late father. Oh, he pulled the IOTA hat out.
Ow.
He pulled the IOTA hat out. And I have nothing from Alpha that's that I can reach. I'm like searching in vain. I can't reach anything. But out of respect of my late father-in-law, who was a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, I'm going to refrain. I'm going to refrain from saying anything sideways about the Kappas. I'm just going to let you just stay right there in that comment, Will. Those comments, and you have a great weekend, Will Mega. Have a great weekend. Out of respect for people like Craig and Tim, Wayne Boxmiller, my boy Larry, I ain't going to say a word about the news. I'm just going to say we got to go to break. It's the Power Hour. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Y'all, it is cold out there. If you do not have to go anywhere, it's dangerous and slippery. Just stay in the house, Grubhub, whatever. I would wait until tomorrow before I start moving around. We'll be right back on the other side of this break.
It's Women of Color Her Story Month 2021 in the city of sisterly affection. This is a time to celebrate the power, legacy, and achievement of Black women. Brought to you by New Voices for Reproductive Justice, based here in Philadelphia. This year's theme is Black Majesty. You are invited to 4 virtual events from February 15th to March 15th. Visit womenofcolorherstory.org and WOC Her Story on Facebook and Twitter for full event details.
I'm Anthony McGlaughlin. Been denied insurance? Call 215-782-8574. Life insurance, age 0 to 85, no examination needed. Homeowners insurance, any home, any condition, same-day coverage. 215-782-8574. Auto insurance, we can have you covered in 15 minutes. Business insurance, call 24 hours a day, 215-782-8574. I'm Anthony McGlaughlin. When you need insurance, I can help.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy.
Relationships during this pandemic time, when you are living in a house or apartment with family or friends, or even by yourself, the pandemic will make you ask the question, who in the world are these people living here? You see faces bumping into each other, looking in the refrigerator with them eating snacks. Everywhere you look, there are tired faces, online, working, studying, asking questions, needing help, food shopping. Don't forget the toiletries. Oh, I need another mask. Rush back home. Did the virus get you? Ooh, wash your hands, 20 seconds. Whew, this pandemic ain't no joke. I need some music. Ray Charles, Georgia on my mind. Get Kuwaisa to do that. Tina Turner, Proud Mary, Lord have mercy. Sing, people, sing.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend, we created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Staples Stores. Some late volume beginning to pick up here in Philadelphia, southbound 95, Lake Common down through Bridge, northbound side at the state line at Chichester Avenue. Still an accident there off to the left, further north 95, no problems through the city. The Vine Expressway, westbound Lake Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway both ways. Not too bad as of yet this morning. Same thing on the PA Turnpike and the Blue Route 476. 55 northbound late volume building into 42 itself running with no issues. Staples has what you need to prepare for a big year. Now at Staples, earn 40% back in rewards when you spend $85 on ink or $200 on toner. In-store only, offer ends 2/20/21. Visit staples.com/40 and rewards for details. Stock up and save big at Staples. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
A light wintry mix today and cold. Temperatures in the 20s this morning, warm into the mid-30s this afternoon. An inch of snow is possible, slipping and sliding with the freezing rain also likely today. Tonight we clear out, sunshine this weekend, but cold and windy on Saturday. 33 in the afternoon will feel like it's in the 20s with the wind. Less wind, bright sunshine Sunday, up to 36. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley with your most accurate forecast. Count on it.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Dwayne Royster and Mark Kelly Tyler. Hey, WURD family. WURD Radio is a small business. We are a focused team of hosts, producers, and staff doing everything we can to serve black people. We're dedicated to putting needs of black people front and center every day, and we honor the names of those who have made black history. Yes, there's Dr. King, Shirley Chisholm, Marcus Garvey, Toni Morrison, Malcolm X, and the list goes on. But how are you making black history? This is one of the most challenging times in history, and we need you to stand with us. For $90 per year, which is $1.73 per week, or 24 cents per day, you can take action. Let us know that what we do matters to you. Sign up today at wordradio.com/join now. Upon checkout, type in the name of a person in black history that you honor or the host that sent you and be heard. Find more information at wordradio.com/join now. So join in, become a part of the WURD family, and receive great gifts and information, and continue to support this great station that continues to serve not just black Philadelphia, but all of Philadelphia and the all of Philadelphia and all of the black Delaware Valley community. All right.
Yeah. So, hey, this weekend, the Black Doctors Consortium, talking about making history, they're going to go down in history the way we talk about, talking about the black church. They didn't talk about the yellow fever epidemic in the documentary. If you want to know more about that, you can actually check out our documentary, Richard Allen, that covered that. Go to Mother Bethel's Facebook page and look under our videos. You could check out the documentary we produced. But they're going to be talked about in the same way that Richard Allen, Absalom Jones, Sarah Allen, and others were talked about in their role helping people during the yellow fever epidemic in this city that killed 10% of the city in a few months' time. But the Black Doctors Consortium is now doing a vaxathon.
I love it.
Vaccinating people 24 hours straight. And it's on a first-come, first-served basis. If you meet either category phase 1A or 1B, and you live in certain zip codes, you can go. Let me just say this, since we've been talking about the black church, let your imam, your rabbi, your pastor, your religious leader know that they qualify for the vaccine regardless of their age if they're under phase 1B. So people are like, well, how are you getting vaccinated? You know, you're not old enough. Yeah, but I'm in 1B. And that's why they encourage us as clergy to do it, also to encourage our members to do it as well. So clergy, in Pennsylvania at least, are considered essential workers. And I kind of, I ain't say anything, but I thought they should have done this from day one, because ever since, this is, the hardest part for me in the pandemic has not been the technology and all that. Our congregation took to that like fish in water. We've not had any real issues around, how to continue to meet, how to continue to worship, and those important parts of being a congregation. But the hard part has always been the death and dying.
Yeah.
And I have never I've been preaching since 1987, pastoring since 94. And I cannot remember a time where I have seen this many people die in a year, where every Sunday we're announcing multiple people who have lost somebody. Either if they're not members of the church directly, they are related to members of the church, where it's like literally just back to back to back. And as a clergy person, you don't have the option of saying, well, it's COVID, I can't be there for you. Right. And so that means we're going to more funerals. We are exposing ourselves and our families. And especially in the early days of the pandemic, man, you didn't even know what you were walking into. You think about like dodging the bullet, visiting people who were sick in March, not even realizing that you were walking in hospitals without a mask and being in rooms with people who probably actually had it. So thank you to the governor and to the Department of Health for adding clergy to this list. And I want to say to you, let your clergy persons know, because this information, Dwayne, I don't know about you, but this was news to me when I heard about it about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that we were actually even on the list.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Maybe a little bit longer. But 1B, we are on 1B.
I didn't realize that. Because I bounce back and forth between Pennsylvania and Maryland. Actually, Maryland, we're in 1C category here. But yeah, that's great. I'm excited that folk are able to get that. Please go get vaccinated. Please, folk, do what you got to do.
Get in that line.
Yeah, get in line. Yeah, I'm not much of a line person myself, but do what you got to do. You got to do it. And look, if you have to go 1 o'clock in the morning, tomorrow morning, it's at the LaCroix Center.
I don't have the address. Maybe one of our PAs, production assistants, can put it in the chat and Facebook. We got about 30 of them. They'll tell you in a second. Where are the black doctors doing the vaccinations? Yeah. And speaking of this, so I don't know. So Will Mega asked the question, what do we think about Minister Farrakhan telling his followers not to take the vaccine? That I had not heard that. Had you?
No, I hadn't heard that either.
So I don't know what his reasoning is, but I can kind of just guess, having heard Farrakhan for years now, and look, there's a lot of skepticism within the black community about things like vaccinations, and rightfully so. If anybody in this country has a right to be skeptical of the American government giving out a vaccine, it's black folk and indigenous people. Because we've borne the brunt for hundreds of years from, trials and, being lied to. And so we have a skepticism about the healthcare system that's been passed down. But here's what gives me comfort, Will, and others. The fact that I can't remember the guy's name, a state rep here in Pennsylvania, who got like all of his constituents in this big nursing home vaccinated, this largely white nursing home. He used his staff to get them vaccinated, and basically, apparently, according to the article, it looked like he may have even broken some rules, or at least done some things that were a little bit on the borderline of being ethical or not. The fact that white folk want this vaccine so bad suggests to me that if there was a fear about it, you probably should just kind of put that to the side.
Yeah.
Because they would not be flocking in the numbers. And these are people who have denied that coronavirus even exists, but yet they're first in line to get the vaccine.
Right. Let me just say this real quick. It is at the LaCroix Center, And the LaCour Center is 1776. I did not realize this was the address of LaCour Center. 1776 North Broad Street in Philadelphia, 19121. So just to be able to get that to you. Yeah. I've heard, it's actually funny, right? So my mom for the longest time was like, I'm not getting the vaccine. I'm not getting the vaccine. I'm not getting the vaccine. Hopefully she's not listening this morning. And, she and I were going back and forth about this. And then 2 of her friends got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden she's like, I've been trying to find out where to get the vaccine, and your father and I are going to go, and I mean, it's I think the reality when you actually have know somebody that had it and they tell you this is the worst experience they've ever had in life, and they weren't sure they were going to make it, that's when people begin to change their mind. So you need to go out there and get that vaccine.
That's right. And yes, and Will says, so Mark, are you saying that white folks are a new health barometer? Yes. Yes, Will Mega. On everything else. I mean, what are you talking about? Like, literally, if there was a question about the vaccine and they weren't really sure, who do you think they'd be pushing it on?
Yeah.
Us. I'd be like, hey, black folk, guess what? Although you've been last in everything, hiring.
To us on the Power Hour. We'll be back first thing Monday morning at 6 a.m. to bring you the latest in news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinions. We want to thank Kwesa for holding down the boards today and making it in safely to work. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for everything that you do. Thank you to everybody that's listening to us on the air, on the app, on Facebook, on YouTube. We appreciate each and every one of you. Listen, stay tuned now for Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones, and do us a favor. Do yourself a favor. Do your family a favor. Go out. Change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.